Hello and welcome to the Cosmological Argument. The Cosmological Argument is called the Cosmological because the cosmos is used to prove the existence of God. And because you are using matter, i.e. something physical, to prove the existence of God, it is known as an a posteriori argument. So a key word here is an a posteriori argument that endeavours to prove the existence of God. It was developed in the 13th century by Thomas Aquinas, an Italian monk, but he perhaps hijacked the whole notion from Aristotle, who set out the notion of cause and effect and how you cannot go infinitely regress. You can't go back forever. There needs to be a prime mover. And Aristotle probably got there before him. And as I say, Aquinas developed the process. And his argument was very much based upon this premise, really, that Aquinas rejected something called infinite regression. This is a process where you essentially go back forever. So if we were to put that abstract concept into something a little bit more concrete, the world exists. Everything in the world and everything on the world is what we call contingent. In other words, it is caused by something else. It's therefore, it doesn't necessarily exist. It's not there because it just has to. It exists because it is caused to exist by something else. And the world is that. It is a contingent material object. Clearly, that begs the question, what caused it? Now, we could go so far back, and what our understanding is, of course, well, we might go back to the Big Bang, and it begs the question, what caused that? And we might have particles, and what caused that? And we might have gas. But all along that chain, we're looking at matter, which is contingent. There therefore must exist somewhere along that chain a being that is uncaused, an uncaused cause, or an unmoved mover, a being whose existence is necessary. It doesn't have to be the god of classical theism, but for Aristotle, there was he coined this thing a prime mover, and Aquinas coined this thing God, and it was the god of classical theism, your omni god. And that is why, in essence, Aquinas embraced something called the cosmological argument and said it does, without doubt, prove the existence of God. Now, he mapped this out in three ways. The three ways, or the three causes, there's a way of motion, way of causation, and way of contingency. MCC, motion, causation, contingency. And we're going to unpack those now. So the first way is as follows. The first way, the unmoved mover, okay, and the second way, the uncaused cause. We're going to gel together a little bit. So the first and the second way, the unmoved mover and the uncaused cause. And this argument essentially hinges on the following idea, that motion is the way or method by which something or an object becomes something else. If you think of, for example, a hot cup of coffee, it's actually hot. However, the cup of coffee is also potentially cold. In Aquinas' way of thinking, you cannot be both potentially and actually the same thing at the same time, obviously. For example, it makes no sense to talk of the cup of coffee being potentially hot when it actually is hot. Okay, the efficient cause may be understood as Aquinas' way of saying that the cause is, of course, therefore necessary. If you want to make a hot cup of coffee, you necessarily have to heat the coffee. The efficient cause is which gives heat to the coffee. So the cosmological argument is concerned with why there is a universe. Okay, in Aquinas' case, he suggests that there is a first efficient cause, which we know to be the prime mover or God of everything, i.e. a cause of everything. And as I say, Aristotle got there before him. So if we look at some of the objections that are placed on this, and they typically, as you would probably guess, come from David Hume. And he said we have a tendency to see cause and effect even when there is no such, there's no kind of causal link. We sometimes, for example, as well, would maintain that the prime mover is the god of classical theism, and that's all very convenient. Why can't we have infinite regression? Just because, you know, that in actual fact that the world, the rules tend to dictate that causes have effects or effects have causes. It doesn't necessarily mean those same rules apply in the outer reaches of the cosmos, for example. So Hume was quite damning towards Aquinas. Equally, Bertrand Russell in the 20th century, one of the greatest atheist philosophers, says that science may look for cause but doesn't mean there is a cause. Like a treasure hunter may hunt for treasure, it doesn't mean there is treasure. Is the example that he gave. So there are some objections to the first and second way which Aquinas presents. The second, perhaps, way that, or I should say, let's jump to the third way. The third way is the argument, is to say, of contingencies. We've done MCC, motion, causation. Let's do contingency. Aquinas' key claim is this: that if everything exists is contingent, it is possible to have a time when nothing exists. Fine. If you had a time when no contingent beings exist, none would come to exist. You'd just be left with a complete void at all time. But by the pure virtue that there is something here, you know, you are sitting amongst things right now, you are sitting amongst the world, does by definition, it actually necessitates a need for some kind of being that is not contingent and therefore does not fall into the same trappings, and by definition their existence must be necessary. And that is a very compelling argument. That's the third way, the way of contingency. There also is something called the fallacy of infinite regression, as I say, which is a fallacy according to Aquinas. You can't keep going back and back. For example, if we were to liken the cause and effect, and the world being, if you like, a part of that cause and effect, there must have to be that initial finger that pushes the first domino that gets things going. So you can see the link here with the contingency argument and the fallacy of infinite regression, to which David Hume argues, you know, that actually just because we can't comprehend infinite regression, it is beyond our comprehension, it doesn't mean that such a concept cannot be true. We have also perhaps empirical evidence that there is infinity, in the sense when we're working around with mathematics, for example, infinity is a concept. I believe there is even a symbol for infinity. So it's not something we can just dismiss. Finally, Aquinas presents the fallacy of composition. Now, the fallacy of composition is otherwise known as the mother argument. The mother argument, in that the human race, humans have a mother. In the same way, the universe, the cosmos, therefore must need a mother. And that is the analogy. Of course, it falls down in the sense that it's rather simplistic. It doesn't offer us any kind of solutions to the universe. Really, the analogy is a poor one, and it is Russell that actually dismantles this argument. It was initially given by somebody called Frederick Copleston. It said it was a 1948 radio debate, and he said,
I would say that I have a mother. I am a contingent being. I rely on the air that I breathe, and indeed have a mother.
fair enough, excellent. But can you really drag the cosmos into that argument, and to say, well, just like me, the universe is contingent, therefore the universe, metaphorically speaking, must have a mother? Can that really be accurately applied? Okay, guys, it's difficult to do these justice in a short video clip. But I will put everything else that you need on the platform that is Teams, so you will be able to get a really good understanding of the cosmological argument. Good luck, guys. 10 minutes just about all done.